Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about influence, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. We should talk. Hi, friends. This is Bethany Jennings, and you're listening to We Should Talk. It's a podcast where we talk about anything and everything to encourage, equip, and empower you to be a decent human. Let's talk. All right, hello, and welcome back. As promised, we're going to talk about influence today. This is actually something that's been on my episodes to be done list for a minute, but I'm just not getting around to it because, reasons. Let me explain the setting. I'm currently sitting in our studio, our music studio. I am on the lessons side. I'm on the school side, the music school side of the studio. Waiting for my next class to start. I just got here and my children are at Mimi and Buddy's house. One's napping and one's about to be, hopefully. So you won't hear my children today. I'm not sure if I should say you're welcome or I'm sorry, but whatever, they're not here. So this is where I'm at. So it's going to be a quick episode because I have a lesson that's supposed to start in a few minutes. Here's the deal. Influence is a double-edged sword. It's good and it can be bad. But it seems like everybody wants influence lately, especially to be an influencer, you know what I mean? Like a social media influencer or a whatever influencer. And there is a lot of responsibility that comes with influence. Now, not everybody takes the responsibility seriously. Most people don't take the responsibility of influence seriously. They just want the notoriety that comes with being, with influence, or they want the accolades that come with influence, but they don't want the responsibility of bearing influence. So, we are going to talk about that for a second. Here's the thing about influence. It is so powerful because you don't have to have a position to lead. If you have influence, you're a leader. You don't have to be given authority by a higher up to lead. If you have influence, you're a leader. Period. So having that influence is major because when you have influence over someone, you are leading them in some way. So you have to ask yourself, what am I leading them to? What am I leading them to do? Where am I leading them to plant roots, to flourish, to grow? What am I leading them to do? If you're going to have influence, it's more than just someone recognizing you in public and you feeling super cool at the next conference when they're like, isn't that one girl that does hair tutorials? It's more than that. Now, there are some situations sometimes that I have promoted things on my social media accounts. I don't really get on Facebook that much. It's whatever I post to my Instagram automatically goes to my Facebook, and I actually forget to check any of that most of the time. But there have been times that if it's like an apostolic-based entrepreneur or a business or outreach or music or whatever, I'll promo it. I don't mind promoting things like that. But that doesn't mean that I am a social media influencer. Now, there are some people who, just by proxy of the family they're born into, sometimes by proxy of their personality and how magnetic their personality can be, and people are just drawn to them. They have a huge social media following, but there is a massive responsibility with that. For some people, and sometimes it's lack of maturity in some ways, what a social media influencer says is gospel to some people. Oh, she's got those kind of clothes. That's what I need. Oh, he's using this kind of music equipment. That's what I got to use. Oh, they're listening to this person's music. That's what I got to do. You didn't necessarily ask to be the final say in people's decision making, but sometimes that's what you become. And if you find yourself in that setting, you need to accept that responsibility. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm not responsible for their immaturity." No. You're not, but you are responsible for what your actions may lead them to do. Right? And so sometimes it's not intentional, but if you are blatantly leading people to false doctrine, if you're blatantly leading people to walk away from holiness, if you're blatantly leading people to walk away from a godly lifestyle, if you're showing them how to be unchristian, your approval becomes their permission. When you're an influencer, quote unquote, when you have influence on a large scale, your participation becomes approval, and that approval becomes someone's permission. So you have to be very careful with the decisions you make. Honestly, we should all, whether you have a social media following or you're considered an influential person in your business sector or in your ministry path or whatever, you should be making decisions that are pleasing to God, and you should be making decisions that do not lead others astray on purpose. Because if you are careless with your decisions, you need to understand that whether it's, 15,000, a million followers, whatever, or it's 2 young people in your church looking at you, you are giving them permission to act certain ways. And you need to live a life above reproach, right? We are responsible for those around us. You are your brother's keeper. You are your sister's keeper. Now, when people are social media influencers, quote unquote, sometimes in like social tension, they're expected to make statements. So I want you to think about this before you go actively pursuing to be a social media influencer. You need to understand that there are expectations placed on these people who have this influence to step up and make statements about social issues that may not be something that they want to do. I know of one person who had quite a social media following during some political and social issues, like it was at a boiling point in our country, and people were messaging this person, like DMing her. I mean, like, why haven't you said such and such, and why haven't you stood up with so and so, and why aren't you, like, and very aggressively, as if it was her responsibility to make sure everyone was on one side or the other of this issue. And if she wanted to, fine, but you don't get to tell people what they should or shouldn't be doing. Does that make sense? So you need to understand that with this influence comes responsibility. There's other people who have just made a post not meaning to go viral or whatever, and they get a lot of hateful comments or a lot of hateful feedback from something that was never meant to be a big issue. It was just a post in passing. But you just need to think about it, because I think a lot of us, we see these accounts that look like normal people that have just taken off, but you don't understand the backworking of being a quote-unquote social media influencer. You don't understand what their house actually looks like. You don't understand what their family life actually looks like. And so we put a lot of stock in these people, but we don't need to do that. However, if you are a person who has influence, which, by the way, is all of us, we all have influence over someone or in someone's life, you need to make decisions responsibly. You need to make decisions that reflect the lifestyle you believe in. I believe in a holiness, oneness, apostolic, Christian lifestyle. So whatever I put out publicly, whether that's on social media or in real life, and by the way, there's a difference in social media and real life. Not everything you see on social media is real life. Not everything you see in real life is what people put on social media. But no matter what I put out for the public to see, in my daily interactions, in my social media posts, in my podcast, in my worship leading, in my music classes that I'm about to do, in any conference that I speak at, in any setting where I'm worship leading, I don't think I already said that one. It doesn't matter. No matter what I'm doing, I should be promoting Christ, because that is who I live for. And by the way, this is very random. There's this new little saying like, oh, I live for that. I live for people trip. I live for instant karma. I don't live for any of those things. I don't like that saying at all, actually. It's very frustrating for me, and I know it's not meant to be like, whatever, but it just really irks my nerves. I don't live for anything but Jesus, but thank you for offering. Anyways, just remember this when you're on social media. Remember this when you're in the room with someone or you get a face-to-face conversation with someone that you consider to be an influence in your life. Most of us are just trying to live our lives, right? And we are hopefully being authentic and real with what we put out for the public to see. But that doesn't mean that influencers are perfect. So don't be harsh on a quote unquote influencer. But also, if you are an influencer, you need to make decisions responsibly. You're an influencer, whether you have 1 million people following you on social or you have 2 people in your youth group that you're leading and being an active member with. You are a leader in some way. You should be a leader on your job, leading people to behave as decent humans, if nothing else. So make decisions according to that. Don't make decisions based only on what you are comfortable with doing and only what you want to do that day. Because if I had made every decision based on what I feel, trust me, a lot of decisions would not be made. Because most of the time, I don't feel like making decisions. And that's the God's honest. So, I say to you, there is a burden of influence, and you might want to consider being a positive influence at the tables the Lord sets up for you, as opposed to the platform of social media. Focus on the small circles of influence. I have no desire, zero, zilch, none. I have no desire to be a massive influencer in the social world. I have no desire to do that. It's too much. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of haterade being passed around, and I'm just not in the mood for it. I don't have the time for it. I got babies to raise. I got disciples to raise up. I got a husband to take care of and try to keep sane. I got stuff to do. I don't have time to be a social media influencer. My focus of influence is the tables that the Lord sets me at. Whoever I happen to be with at that moment, that's who He wants me to influence, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So this was kind of everywhere. But this just is something that's been in my to-do list for a minute. Don't desire influence on a massive level if you can't handle influence in a small circle. Anyways, okay, I got to go. My class is about to start. I know this was a very scattered lesson, and it wasn't a whole lot of scripture, and it wasn't a whole lot of psych, and it wasn't a whole lot of anything. Just know influence comes with burden, so be careful what you wish for. All right, friends, I hope this makes you a better human, and apply this and think about it in your prayer and devotion time. May the Lord go with you. Okay, bye. Well, that was fun. I'm glad you stuck around for the whole thing, and thank you for talking to me today. Y'all go like and follow and review and do all the podcast things that people do. And don't forget to be a good human.